My name is Kennedy. I'm from the University of Johannesburg. And this is a paper we did with my research PhD student, David, but he's not around. I would have wished that he prepared this presentation. Now, just some brief background about UJ and the kind of stuff that we do. We do have a Center for Cybersecurity training, and one of the reports that we do publish, you can access it on the web. We do some research about teams and how to make their space secure. We do card fraud. We've done reports about if you've ever wondered why your airtime is disappearing, there's a good report that tells you about why this sort of things happen. We also have certain nice reports about how to secure using password, proper password controls. So the Center for Cybersecurity does a lot of work in terms of sensitizing students regarding how to put their stuff in order to make them secure. But one thing out of the security comes from a story I want to tell you regarding one of my classes. So I was teaching security, and I was teaching them about passwords. And after the class, two students came in. I'll call them, for example, say Jack and Jill. So Jack came and for some reason, Jack couldn't access their password and they needed some help. And also Jill followed. And it got me thinking, because I just told them about brute force attack. I had told them about the open source software that's available on the net. Things like Cain and Abel, Rainbow Hack, Air Hack, John the Ripper, and there are various sorts of open source tools that you can actually brute force attack. And it was from a lecture. So Jack comes and tells me, well, how do I use this tool? So it's kind of sensitive regarding how to help Jack out. Jack came with a preconceived idea of, well, I understand the tool, but I don't want to know one step regarding how to use the tool. But Jill's approach was slightly different. Jill came directly and said, you have to help me use the tool. So it kind of got me thinking. And the kind of research we do, we decided, me and my PhD student, kind of think about that and conceptualize, not just from a tools perspective, but and a technical perspective, but also the underlying behavior regarding Jack and Jill. And hence the topic of our conversation today, gender. And gender is very important because we kind of realize that the two approaches to Jack and Jill, consciously or unconsciously, predefined their efficacy towards using systems. So we kind of realize that there's a distinct difference or a distinct pattern, but you can't quite trace what this is. So we wanted to do a study that kind of contrasts between approaches, and wanted to use the construct efficacy regarding that. And hence, we kind of thought about the idea of how we're going to go about doing that. So we typically follow the typical genre regarding research, conceptualizing a problem, kind of analyzing how the results of this work was. So we kind of looked at, and we were discussing this, we talked about the idea of truism. Now with truism, for instance, it's a statement that kind of reflects who you are and what identifies you. So a truism could be like, for instance, I'm standing here because I'm not seated there. That's a truism. But much more deeper, what about the truism that reflects the mind of Jill when she comes and says, you have to help me because I can't do it? Now, the truism in African women is slightly different from those in the West, because for one, they haven't been exposed to technology, and their truism is that is for men. Some of the truism are articulated kind of in our studies, that women are typically absent from cybersecurity space. Women need protection from the cybersecurity people. Women are invisible teachers overshadowed by technology. Women teachers are deficient. You'd rather listen to a male teacher than a woman teacher in terms of that. So those sort of truism kind of helped shape the kind of research that we embarked on, identifying the truism within gender differences. So for one major truism that we kind of reflect on is that when it comes to security, the insiders are a threat to security, and that has been proven in many instances that, that being that line of defense, people must be educated, people must be made conscious about security. How so for people, and how so for gender differences between men and women? Because men and women are apart from people, and people must be made conscious about security. So one truism that we kind of reflect about, well, people could be a threat to the organizations. And part of those people are also women, who could also be a threat or not threat. So we wanted to identify that sort of place. Because one thing that's happening is in South Africa, there's a conscious drive to drive women into empowerment. And another truism is because diversity can bring in a whole wealth of information and innovation. So the more you push women into organizations and corporate settings, the more you're likely to innovate, the more you're likely to progress. That's a truism that is kind of reflected. So the conscious move towards pushing women into science, technology, engineering, and mathematics kind of showed us specific drive into empowering women. And in decades, having the STEM disciplines have actually made an aggressive push into pushing women into these disciplines. And here's the case. I was afraid of exactly showing Jack how to run these tools, because you never know. Jack can actually weaponize the knowledge. You might teach Jack how to access a password, but Jack will now know how to access someone else's password using the same tools. That's weaponizing a tool. So you're conscious towards understanding, are they aware of the kind of tools that they are doing? The men got it, but we kind of also realize the women are also getting it. Days Raven, I'll introduce you to Raven Alda. Now, she's a girl and she was gifted, and she attended high school at just 14. And by 18, she had graduated. Now, she has appeared into, we call it DEFCON, it's a mecca for hackers. It's one of the most exciting places to be, just to share mine. She has been speaking about that because she's an actual security consultant. So there are people like that whose efficacy in security has been driven, as has been proven. There's one lady also goes by the name Gigabyte. Now her real name is Kim. She was born and raised in Belgium, but she's one of the few ladies that has been responsible to creating extremely dangerous malware, the Zahe A and the Sharp A, and these malwares were targeted at sensitive information. So we find that the efficacy of women towards using technology has been growing. So we wanted to find that and kind of see how much of that has filtered into the African context. Bearing in mind the truism about African women and their place and what has been driving them, how conscious are they? So we kind of wanted to postulate a scenario regarding security threats and how women are conscious of that. Because if you're not careful, you'll find the ravens getting into our systems. And as people, they'll also constitute as threats to organizations. So we postulated in our hypothesis one aspect that is time-bound, how women are getting into STEM disciplines, how women are making a conscious decision to play critical roles in IT, and how many of them understand IT threats, and what is their predispositions, what's their efficacy. So that was our aim and objective of understanding that. So we kind of realized that there haven't been any studies that really assess the efficacy of women in technology and how conscious they are in that. And also one construct that we kind of started believing that is shaping their efficacies, the feminism movement. Now there's a construct or a term called CYBER-FEMINISM. It's kind of died out, but some of the ideals of CYBER-FEMINISM has been ascribed as follows. It's a philosophy that acknowledges firstly that there's a difference between power. Non-power expresses itself distinctly with men and women in the digital discourse. And secondly, cyber-feminism wants to change that discourse. In other words, in short, what men can do, women can do, and perhaps even better. Now, with those sort of ideals stemming into the corporate environment, and with STEM disciplines pushing women to the corporate sector, now we start finding ourselves with other truisms of women becoming a threat. And we wanted to test that. What is the efficacy of African women in around that? See, I need to rush a bit. We did a positivist study, and I'll rush through the kind of ontology. We contrasted between male and female and the gender, and wanted to know, based on 10 constructs of security that most of us are familiar with, regarding the situation of security, regarding their consciousness of extra role behavior, regarding protection behavior, regarding security awareness. How conversant are women towards these things? And in our findings in our paper, we kind of realized that everyone understands this, but women tended to be more neutral towards this. And wanted to figure out why aren't women assertively expressing themselves and their efficacy as men. So one of our conclusions was that, well, there's a distinct difference between the efficacy of men still and women. But with women, the constructs are that they believe technology is not subjugation. In other words, rather than being subjugated by technology, they're unraveling and removing themselves from those shackles. We also looked at mentorship, and kind of saying that we could mentor women. We also looked at shaping and defining career paths so that they are made aware about their role. So those are some of the findings that we can kind of have found. And these insights kind of shape us and help us understand that there's that distinct role, and that the role that they're kind of playing should be managed, it should be understood, and it should be beneficial. I'll end there for now.